Before we begin, I want to talk about testing your water parameters before you do your water changes. It's really important to know where your water was at before you do your water change. You'll know where your phosphates are, you'll know where your nitrates are, you'll know if you're in the middle of a cycle, and that is also key because you really shouldn't do any heavy water changes when you are in the middle of a cycle because you can crash your aquarium. Let's talk about the phosphate tester. It does not come in the master test kit. So this is what the box looks like. And I guess the element lettering is PO for phosphates. I also test for copper because copper can kill your frogs. So I bought a copper test kit as well. And what helped me detect the iron in my frog tank was this iron test. Oh, I'm just dropping stuff everywhere. And that was also very helpful. I also want to add that at the end of the video, we're going to talk about this beautiful plant that is decorating my test kit and what purpose it serves. At the end of the video, there'll be a clip regarding this plant and why you should also have one in your aquarium. Until then, see ya. Hello. Thank you for joining us on another episode of African Clawed Frogs for Beginners. Today, we will discuss algae. Some people hate it and others don't mind it. It all boils down to the species of aquatics that you have in your tank. Algae is a collection of single-celled forms we call spores that can live in the water. These cells contain chlorophyll, and they use the sunlight, minerals, and nutrients in the water to thrive. They are plant-like, however, they don't have a root system, stems, or leaves. The spores that cause algae growth exist everywhere in your tank. This is why algae just seems to appear from nowhere. Algae maintains its form as an organism that is invisible to the naked eye as long as the environment is not conducive to its growth. Even with the existence of the cells, the water remains clear and clean. Algae begins to appear when there is an abundance of nutrients in your tank. One of the biggest contributors to algae growth is phosphates. Just like ammonia spikes when there is more organic matter in the tank than the beneficial bacteria can feast on, so do phosphates. Add great lighting, a spike in the nitrates, and you will start to see the algae spores form on your glass. They start off as little clear speckles, and before you know it, hair algae, green algae, brown algae is in your tank. What's worse is if you have a warmer tank and low water circulation, you can end up with algae bloom, which is a lot like bacterial bloom, but instead of it being white, it's green. While bacterial bloom is pretty harmless and we can let it ride until it clears, algae bloom is a horse of a different color. Literally. Well, not literally, because algae is not a horse, but it is of a different color. Algae bloom can be fatal to your tank pets if it's not properly controlled and removed. Full-blown algae, if not controlled, can also starve your aquarium plants and make your tank pets unhealthy and stressed if the algae outpopulates your plants. The solution to control algae is simple. When you see it growing in your tank, remove it by washing your tank decor with plain water and scraping it off the glass. Remove some of the phosphates and nitrates with water changes. Remove any decaying plant matter and keep your lights off for a few days. Do not allow light into the aquarium with the understanding that you may need to relocate your live plants. Fish keepers can get snails and bottom feeders to eat the algae. However, for those of us with clawed frogs, it is best to try to remove the algae without adding other species to the tank, unless you're using something like ghost shrimp, because if they're eaten by the frogs, they will not cause any mishaps with your frog's digestive system, nor will they harm your frogs. Preventing algae from forming requires consistent, scheduled water changes. 25% once weekly is a good number. That being said, 25% is a good number if you do not have an overpopulation of tank mates. Because if you have an overpopulation of fish, or if you have an overpopulation of frogs, then you might need to remove a little more than that. Possibly a 35 to 40% water change may help. Removing uneaten food and decaying plant leaves from the tank, vacuuming the gravel, checking the phosphate and nitrates, keeping your tank far enough away from the window so the algae cells will not photosynthesize, and timing your tank aquarium lighting so it is not on for more than 8 to 10 hours will help create an unsuitable environment for algae to thrive. Of course, there are treatments for your tank if you want to go the chemical route. However, I will not mention these products as I have not used them in my frog tank, and I prefer not to recommend something I have not yet used. What I can say is that research, asking a vet, and looking at the ingredients on the bottle can assist in making an educated decision regarding the use of chemicals to prevent algae growth. I personally don't use them because I'm not sure if the chemicals in anti-algae water conditioners will cause adverse effects in my frogs, and I choose not to find out. I follow the same peace of mind when it comes to adding plant nutrients to my tank. Your frog waste and the nitrates that exist in your water should suffice. For now, that concludes our video on algae. Thank you for your engagement. We hope you learned something new from this video. And as always, have a frogtastic day. If you would like to see entertaining pictures and videos of our frogs, please visit our TikTok and Instagram. The links are in the description.
Hi, thanks for watching the video all the way through. So, this is my phosphate kit. As you can see, it's at about 5 parts per million, and yeah, that's not good. And that was one of my frogs. Huh. So I investigated to find out which frog it was, and it was Leafy. A female frog was looking for a mate. That is so cute. Anyway, back to the video. Okay, so the plant that I have in the background here is a pothos plant. Pothos plants, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen these in many households, if not in your own. They are very easy to propagate. You just cut a piece that would be above a node, and then you could dip it in water and it'll grow its own roots. Having this dipped into your aquarium can help absorb a lot of the nitrates and a lot of the phosphates that are in your tank. Since I put this pothos plant in there, I've noticed that my phosphates have gone to half. Now this does take some time because it has been a week or so since I had this plant in there, but it does make a difference. And the more pothos plants you have feeding off of your water, the more it'll lower your nitrates and phosphates. But you need to be careful because you don't want to starve your other plants. And this plant is notorious for being greedy. So just make sure that you create a balance between your aquatic plants and the plants that cannot be submerged in the water. to make sure that your water is providing oxygen and also eating up all the toxins. So anyway, yeah, give the pothos plant a try.